Rome was not destroyed by its enemies, it was destroyed by the people standing closest to power. For over 1,000 years, the greatest empire the world had ever seen ran not on conquest alone, but on betrayal, on whispered alliances and poisoned cups, and blades drawn by the hands of brothers, generals, and wives. Every throne sat above a pit of knives, and those who climbed highest learned too late that the fall was never far behind. These are 10 of the most brutal betrayals in Roman history. 10 moments where loyalty meant nothing, and ambition meant everything. Number 10. In the final years of the Western Empire, no man served Rome more faithfully than Stilicho. Half Roman, half Vandal, he was the greatest general the empire had left. In 408 AD, he was arrested on fabricated charges of treason and executed without trial. Within 2 years, the Visigoths sacked Rome for the first time in 800 years, and the barbarian soldiers who had served under Stilicho, enraged by his death, defected in their thousands to the enemy. Rome had killed its own immune system, and the infection came swiftly. Number 9. In 193 AD, the Praetorian Guard, the elite soldiers tasked with protecting the emperor, murdered their own commander, the Emperor Pertinax, after just 87 days in power. What followed was something that should have been unthinkable. The Guard literally auctioned the Roman Empire to the highest bidder. A wealthy senator named Didius Julianus outbid his rival at the barracks gate and purchased the title of Emperor of Rome. He lasted 66 days before the Senate condemned him, and he was beheaded in his bath. The men sworn to protect the empire had turned it into a market stall. Number 8. When Emperor Galba adopted the young nobleman Piso as his heir in January of 69 AD, he believed he was securing the future of Rome. What he actually did was sign his own death warrant. Otho, a former ally who had expected to be chosen as heir, moved within days. He bribed the Praetorian Guard, marched on the Forum, and within hours, Galba was dragged from his litter and beheaded in the street. His head was carried through Rome on a spear. Galba had ruled for 7 months. His final mistake was trusting that loyalty could survive disappointment. Number 7. Cleopatra, 7 of Egypt, was not a passive figure caught between powerful men. She was a strategist who chose her alliances with precision and pursued them without sentiment. She aligned with Julius Caesar, bore him a son, and secured her throne. When Caesar fell, she pivoted to Mark Antony, but both alliances carried within them the seeds of their ruin. Caesar was killed by the Senate. Antony was broken at Actium, partly because his association with Cleopatra had made him appear to Rome as a man bewitched. She died in Alexandria, alone, on her own terms, the last of her dynasty, undone not by weakness, but by a world that had finally run out of room for her. Number 6. Vercingetorix was the greatest Gallic chieftain Rome ever faced. He united warring tribes, outmaneuvered Caesar on multiple occasions, and came closer than almost anyone to defeating the Republic in open field. At Alesia in 52 BC, surrounded and starving, he surrendered himself to Caesar in hopes of sparing his people further slaughter. He rode out in full armor, circled Caesar on horseback, and laid his weapons at his feet. Rome responded with 6 years of chains, a public parade through the city during the triumph of Caesar, and then a strangling in his prison cell. His dignity earned him nothing but a slower death. Number 5. Sejanus served as the right hand of Emperor Tiberius for nearly 2 decades, rising to become the most powerful man in Rome outside the imperial family itself. Many historians believe he had the son of Tiberius, Drusus, poisoned by seducing the wife of Drusus into administering it. He then set his sights on the throne, but Tiberius, aging and paranoid on the island of Capri, was warned of the plot. In 31 AD, he sent a letter to the Senate that began as praise and ended as a list of charges. Sejanus was arrested that day, executed by nightfall, and his body torn apart by the Roman mob. The man who had made himself indispensable had simply made himself dangerous. Number 4. Livia Drusilla was the wife of Augustus for over 50 years, and by every account, one of the sharpest political minds in Rome. She was also, according to ancient sources and modern suspicion, quite possibly a poisoner. Several heirs who stood between her son Tiberius and the throne died under convenient circumstances. Augustus himself died in 14 AD, shortly after a dinner with his wife. The historian Cassius Dio points to figs from the garden. Nothing was ever proven, but Tiberius became emperor, and the question of what happened in that garden was never answered. Number 3. Caracalla and Geta were the sons of Emperor Septimius Severus, and they hated each other with a ferocity no instruction could contain. When their father died in 211 AD, he left the empire to both sons jointly. In December of that year, a peace meeting was arranged by their mother Julia Domna. Geta came. Within minutes, soldiers loyal to Caracalla entered the room. Geta ran to his mother and was killed in her arms as she begged for his life, receiving wounds to her own hands in the attempt. Caracalla then ordered the deaths of everyone connected to Geta, with estimates of as many as 20,000 killed in the purge that followed. Number 2. Nero was not born cruel. He was shaped, at least in part, by the woman who had engineered his rise to power. Agrippina the Younger poisoned her own husband, the Emperor Claudius, to place her son on the throne. She expected to rule through him. Nero had other ideas. Their relationship collapsed into mutual hatred, and in 59 AD, Nero had his mother placed on a boat designed to sink. She survived by swimming to shore. He then sent assassins to her villa. When they arrived, Agrippina reportedly opened her robe and told them to strike the womb that had produced a monster. The woman who had destroyed an emperor to crown a son was killed by the son she had crowned. Number 1. On the Ides of March in 44 BC, Julius Caesar entered the theatre of Pompey and was surrounded by senators. He was stabbed 23 times. The wounds were spread across his body, evidence not of a clean execution, but of a mob. Each man desperate to mark himself as part of the act. Among them was Marcus Junius Brutus, whom Caesar had mentored, protected, and by some accounts loved as a son. The ancient sources differ on whether Caesar said anything at the end. Some say he pulled his toga over his face and fell in silence. What is beyond dispute is what happened next. The conspirators believed they were saving the Republic. Instead, they ended it. The civil wars that followed consumed the Mediterranean world, and Octavian rose as Augustus, the first emperor. The Republic the senators had killed to protect was gone forever, replaced by exactly the thing they had feared most. Power in Rome was never safe. It was never stable, never generous, and never loyal. The Senate chamber and the palace and the battlefield were all the same arena, and the rules never changed. Trust was a resource, and in Rome it was always running out. The closer you stood to the throne, the shorter the distance to the knife. Every secret has a price,